During the time that the sun was at its lowest point over King's Landing, it projected a menacing red glow across the towers and streets of the city. The air was thick with tension within the walls of the Red Keep. It was a tension that had been building up for years, simmering just below the surface, waiting for the appropriate moment to explode into a full-blown conflict. That moment had finally arrived, and it was tonight. Rhaenyra Targaryen, a princess who had once been naive but had since developed into a powerful candidate for the Iron Throne, stood in front of the large hearth that was located in her apartments. Her silver hair caught the firelight and glowed like molten steel, which was a striking contrast to the tempest that was raging in her violet eyes. During the past few hours, she had been immersed in profound contemplation, her mind going over the sequence of events that had brought her to this point in time. Everything that had happened to her, the betrayals, the unfulfilled promises, the power struggles, had shaped her into something more resilient and more incisive. However, out of all the betrayals that she had been through, the one that came from Sir Criston Cole wounded her the most severely. Even though he had been her lover and trusted protector in the past, he had betrayed her in the most terrible way possible. In order to back Alicent Hightower and her son Aegon in their endeavor to overthrow Rhaenyra's claim to the kingdom, he had made the decision to ally himself with her adversaries. In her mind, Criston had become the personification of disloyalty, and his name had become synonymous with what she considered to be treachery. The last time they had spoken, she vividly remembered the vitriol in his voice as he spat his charges at her, putting her dignity into question, as if he were some kind of holy knight, and she was nothing more than a harlot. It was the way he had looked at her with disdain, as if the years of shared confidences and intimacies meant nothing, that still caused her blood to boil when she thought about his comments. She had been a young girl who was in love, but now she was a woman who had become a woman because of the harsh realities of the world. This world had taught her that love was a luxury that she could no longer afford. Consequently, Rhaenyra had arrived at her conclusion. It had come to the point where they needed to put an end to this game that they had been playing, to deal the final blow that would break whatever twisted tie that still existed between them. Tonight, she would demonstrate to Criston Cole that she was not the same girl he had known in the past. Tonight, she would demonstrate to him that she was a Targaryen, and that no one, not even him, could stand in her way. With each passing instant, the sound of heavy footfall reverberated down the corridor, getting closer and closer to the speaker. As Rhaenyra's eyes narrowed, her palm became more tightly wrapped around the wine mug that she was holding. She had sent for him herself, well aware that he would come, as devoted as ever to his new queen. She did not need to turn around to find out who it was. She had already sent for him. The entrance to her quarters opened with a creaking sound, and there he was, Sir Criston Cole, dressed in his dark armor, his expression still as unmoved as it had been forever. There was a flicker of disquiet that betrayed him, as if he could detect the shift in the air, the alteration in her mood. However, there was something in his gaze that contradicted his beliefs. Rhaenyra had learned to conceal her feelings and to conceal her genuine intents beneath a facade of calmness over the course of the years. He was not the only one who had become more difficult over the course of time. "Your Grace," Criston greeted her with a tone that was terse and formal. "You summoned me." After turning around to face him, Rhaenyra's countenance was indecipherable. "I did," she responded, maintaining a calm demeanor. She savored the deep, astringent flavor of the wine as she took a slow, deliberate sip of it. "I have been pondering lately, Sir Criston, the decisions that we make throughout our lives. Our fates are shaped by the way they define us. Would you not agree with me?" The muscles in Criston's jaw contracted ever so slightly. "I would, Your Grace." Rhaenyra whispered, "Good," with a tone that was gentle but resembling steel. "Because I have made a choice that concerns you." Even though Criston's brow furrowed, he did not speak as he waited for her to go with her statement. The lesson that he had learnt a long time ago was that it was preferable to let Rhaenyra express her mind rather than to attempt to anticipate what she would think. The first thing that Rhaenyra said was, "I trusted you once, Criston," as her eyes locked upon his. "I had faith in you, and I was quite certain that you were unique in comparison to the other men who were surrounding me. But you showed me that I was wrong, didn't you? You have demonstrated to me that you are like the rest of them in that you are feeble and easily influenced by power, and the promises of those who are attempting to exert control over you. The lines of Kristen's lips contracted into a thin line. I did what I believed was right, Your Grace. What you believed was right. The tone of Rhaenyra's voice was filled with contempt as she repeated. To be more specific, what was that then? Can you betray me? Putting yourself in the same camp as the same individuals that are out to destroy me? Kristen, when did you come to the conclusion that your allegiance to my adversaries was more deserving than your allegiance to me? It was clear from the look in his eyes that he was feeling guilty and ashamed, but he would never admit it. His silence screamed volumes. Rhaenyra was aware of the fact that he had duped himself into believing that he had acted out of a sense of duty, but it was obvious that he had done so. She had witnessed the manner in which he had stared at her on that particular day in the throne room, the manner in which he had refused to meet her gaze as if he were scared of what he could pick up on in her eyes. Now, however, there was no longer any reason to be afraid. Rhaenyra had finished her performance as the woman who had been wronged and the lover who had been spurned. Now was the moment for Kristen to fully comprehend the significance of the fact that she was the heir to the Iron Throne and the dragon's blood. The tone of Rhaenyra's voice was calm and determined as she spoke to Kristen. I summoned you here tonight, Kristen, to tell you that whatever this is between us, it ends now, she stated. I am not going to put up with your presence in my life any longer, and I am not going to give you permission to continue to undermine me at every opportunity. When it comes to me, you are nothing from this point forward, fewer than nothing at all. In spite of the fact that Kristen's eyes flashed with a mixture of rage and hurt, he swiftly concealed it, and his countenance became more grim. And what course of action do you plan to take, Your Grace? Have I been put to die, put inside the confines of the